This is a response to a young lady named Genesis who sent me a message on Facebook asking why it is that I do taxidermy. She asked this question in response to my video of myself taxiderming a mouse, which was my first full taxidermy project, and I'll have an update on her at the end of this video. But first I want to say why it is that I do taxidermy. There are several reasons why I have gotten into this art, which can be considered a lost art because it's not very often that people do it today. But the first reason that I do taxidermy is out of respect for the animals who I use in my art. Some people might just look at me and think that's really weird and ask, well, why and how is it respectful to do this to these animals? Now, my reasoning behind it is that when an animal dies, and especially when that animal is killed purposefully for food purposes, not one piece of that animal should go to waste. Everything, as much as possible, should be used. And this is how our ancestors did it. Thousands of years ago, and it doesn't matter what your cultural background, your ancestors did this as a day-to-day thing. When they killed an animal for food, they not only used its meat for nourishment, but they used its hide to make leathers and fur clothing to keep themselves warm and sheltered from the elements. They used those skins to make containers for carrying water, which is very essential to life. They also used the bones to make tools and to make jewelry to adorn themselves. And a lot of this jewelry was a reminder to themselves about nature and the animals that it had come from. They used this as totems. It was part of their whole cultural identity. People who know what an animal lover I am are often shocked to discover my work and to see what it is that I do with animal remains. Some people are quite offended, some people are very mad at me. They ask me, how can I do this with animals? And I say I'm doing it because I love and respect the animals and I want to celebrate their lives. To let them just decompose on the side of the road is highly disrespectful in my eyes. I believe that nothing should go to waste on anything. Everything should be reused, everything should be recycled, and that includes the remains of living things. One thing that I find very hypocritical in the art community is that seashells are highly sought after. Everybody loves seashell jewelry and seashell reefs and seashell art of any kind. But if you take and you do something with raven bones, for instance, or coyote skulls, any type of mammal or bird bone, people get offended. They get upset. They say, this is something that was living and you are using living, or well, not living anymore, but you're using parts of the once living to make art, and this is disrespectful and disgusting. But that's what seashells were. Seashells were part of a living organism at one time, and there is no difference between using seashells and using bones. It's the same thing. It's parts of once living matter. It's making something beautiful out of something that has died, and that is something that has been in the human tradition for millions of years. And our culture, especially our Western culture, has lost touch in the reality of the cycle of life. Things live and grow and then they die, and then their nutrients get cycled back into the system. Death is a natural part of the life cycle. It's nothing to be feared, and art made out of dead things should not be feared either. Another reason why I do taxidermy is that I enjoy doing it. I enjoy working with the dead and helping to make something beautiful out of their memory. I had originally wanted to be a mortician, but the laws in my country prohibit me from being a mortician based on a case history of depression. If you had ever been depressed, you cannot be a mortician. You can't even be accepted into most schools to become a mortician. And that is because in this profession there is such a high suicide rate, because people who work with the dead on a day-in, day-out basis can become very depressed. And I can see why this rule is in place, because for most people it is a very depressing topic. But for me, myself, death it doesn't hold very much sway over me. Death and decay is not what depresses me. But basically, for me, taxidermy and related arts is about making something beautiful from the decay, which is why this channel is called Beauty from Decay. I'm taking something that people find disgusting or morbid and making something beautiful out of it, making beautiful reminders of that species. I'm not here to make fun of animals' memory. I'm very serious when I say that I'm respecting these animals. Whenever I collect an animal, I do a smudge ceremony for them to thank them and to help release their spirit into the other world. I'm a firm believer that all living things have a spirit and soul and should be respected as much as human remains are. And when I say that, I would actually work with human remains if given the opportunity. It's not something I'm going to go hunting for, but if I was given something to work with, I would jump at the opportunity. If some sort of organization came to me and said, we would like you to do this for a museum, I would gladly do it. And that's the same with people's pets. I'm not going to do my own pets, but if somebody wanted me to do their cat or do something out of their dog's remains, I'd gladly do that as well. It's all within the memory of that animal. It's all about the animals and treating them with respect. I hope that it answers your question. It's Genesis. For me, it's about respecting the animals and helping them gain some sort of immortality in their death. From doing this work, I help that animal's memory live on forever. And that is something that I would really like to help accomplish, is that people will look at my work and say, what a beautiful mouse. I don't want them to think about anything other than that particular animal that I had worked with. And Callie wants to go outside, so I better take her before she gets upset. Hey Cal, are we going to go outside?